Welcome, everybody. It's the chaotic beginning to the third day of my workshop this week. What got you here won't get you there. On day one, we started by celebrating where you have gotten to, and we looked at some of the skills and some of the strengths and the talents and some of the strokes of fortune and privilege that have gotten you to where you are. And we let ourselves really embrace those elements because they are absolutely part of what has gotten you to the point that you are at. On day two, last Wednesday, we talked about where is there now that you've gotten here. Where is there? What does that look like for you? And we sort of drilled it down to practical elements that you actually can control or that you can take some agency around. We talked about in a year from now, what would you like to see as a meaningful improvement in the realm of time management, or the way you are spending your time, money, how much money are you bringing in and in what way, and artistic fulfillment. What are you doing that delights you and lights you up, and how can you be doing more of it, and what does that look like for you? And my premise for this entire week of workshops is that the path toward that next step certainly will involve some of the strengths and some of the actions and some of the gifts that we already identified on the first day. But there's probably something more, something new that is required, because the definition of insanity, they say, is doing the same thing over and over and over again and hoping for different results. And you may well expect that over the course of today, I'm going to talk about visibility as being one of those elements that you need to make meaningful changes in the career that you're building, in the musical life that you are creating. So freaking relatable. Anybody in the room relate to these feelings of, oh, I have so much imposter syndrome around showing up? Anybody relate to feeling like visibility is necessary but out of your comfort zone? Feeling like it's scary to take up space, feeling anxious about it and judgmental about it. Yeah, all of this. Does anybody also relate to feeling really willing and open and willing to be seen and heard? Great. Gosh, I love this group already. 10 people in the room, and they're fantastic. So we reviewed our sessions 1 and 2, and we did activities on both of those days. And today's activity, I actually just want to start breaking down what taking actual steps might be. Here's my suggestion for you. The prompt that I had given to people before now was, think about 1 year from now, what would meaningful change look like in those areas, in the areas of within your own life of money, time, and artistic fulfillment. And today, for today's prompt, I actually want to just focus on one of those. You choose the one. And let's think about the gap between where you are right now and what that meaningful change that you imagined might look like. So if you're coming to this prompt for the first time, just grab one of those areas, and your answer does not have to be perfect, but let's think about it. And now we have 52 weeks between now and next year. And if you were to make linear progress toward that goal, that could be a 2% improvement every week from now till next year. And progress could be made. And I think we all know as musicians that progress is rarely linear. We work and work and work, and then suddenly something breaks through for us, and suddenly we can double tongue, or suddenly we can play this passage that we didn't used to be able to play. And in the same way, we work and work and work, and sometimes it feels like we're actually deproving. Exactly. It feels like it's going the opposite direction from what it should be. But we know that underneath the surface, that 9/10 of the iceberg that is underwater, it's Sorry, my metaphors are getting mixed. It's sending out roots, is what I was going to say. Perhaps I will reword this metaphor into some sort of plant-based metaphor. And Nancy knows all about trees, that underneath the ground, there is as much tree as you see above, and probably in the early stages of growth, there is more. It's growing and growing and growing before it actually becomes magnificent. So we know that linearity is not the real thing, but your externalized effort can be put in a linear manner to create the change you want to create. And we know this in the realm of practicing. We know this in the realm of teaching. We keep reinforcing the concepts, and suddenly the students pop through into beauty. And you're like, where did you come from? Where was all this beautiful vibrato? Oh, there it is. Okay. The activity, the idea, the journaling prompt for you is, if you were to take an action in the next week that might bring you 2% closer to your vision, in whichever realm that is, what would that action, or what actions would you take? And I'll remind you that 2% is nothing. If I told you to go out and run a mile, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but it's not an insignificant task. But if I suggested that you should run 100 yards or 104 yards, which is approximately 2% of a mile, that's the length of my driveway. You could scamper out to my mailbox and come back and feel perfectly fine about it. 2% is nothing. If you had to drink a gallon of that terrible colon prep liquid, that is a daunting task. But if you had to drink 5 tablespoons of it, you could make that happen. That's what 2% is. So, would you spend the next, let's say, 7 minutes brainstorming actions that you could take that would move you 2% toward that goal? It was so inspiring to hear everything that you all are thinking about and that you are intending, and to hear all of these actual tangible steps that you can take and will take to change your current reality for the better, and to hear all of these inspiring visions that you have. As we were listening, I wrote down 3 or 4 actions that I'm going to add into my list, because it was inspiring, and because it's really not that hard to take action. The hard part is to come up with the ideas of the actions to take. And part of the reason why I'm so bought in on leading groups, which many of the oboists in this room know, is for exactly this reason: the inspiration that we can get from each other and from seeing other people taking action and making moves. And that's what I am trying to create inside the Happiest Musician Visibility Lab. Now, visibility feels like a triggering word sometimes, and I know a lot of you have already reflected that, even though we are performers who are theoretically very good at being on stage. A lot of orchestral musicians especially feel really safe inside the section, feel safe hiding in the middle of the orchestra, and do not desire to be more visible than that. But I would suggest to you that visibility doesn't have to mean salesiness. Visibility does not have to mean exposure. Visibility does not have to mean showing up on social media and plastering your face all over things, or doing things that make you feel inherently uncomfortable. But no amount of instrumental skill is going to get you as far as having an audience of people who have been following along with your journey and who see you both as an expert and as a human, and who have learned to know you and like you and trust you. That's a huge key to your future success, whether that is in selling tickets or booking gigs for yourself, or selling programs to presenters, or selling education, some of you are talking about increasing your studio size and getting hired, because the people who already feel like they know you are the people who are going to support you as you move forward, almost for sure. I said this yesterday, but no one is here in the room because you saw one post that I made one time advertising this workshop. You're here because you have heard my voice on Crushing Classical, or you've seen my face in the 5-Minute Read Maker, or you've experienced me in conversation because we live near each other, or because we've played together. And you're here because you've had enough experience of me that you think I have something to say, or that you think I can help you, because no one takes 3 hours out of their week to just idly show up to an online event with someone they don't know. I've been showing up consistently and visibly for years, and I can help you do that too. Because I would say that the life you want and this greater control of your time and more income and these greater opportunities for artistic fulfillment, these things live on the other side of taking scary steps. And those scary steps might be plastering your face all over social media, but maybe that's not where your edge is right now. Maybe it's just talking with one more person at your gig next week. Like, it's a scary enough step for now, but the steps that expose you to the view and to the gaze of others. And that's what we're going to work on in the Visibility Lab. My idea is this will be a very spacious container in which we'll work much like this. We'll be talking in groups, we'll be inspired by each other, there will be activities. We're going to do a unit on your own zones of genius and what special skills that you have that the world needs. We're going to consider how to look at your own feeds, the content that you consume, through the lens of a marketer instead of through the lens of a content consumer, so that you can discover and discern for yourself what you would like you to look like and what you do not want to do. We're going to consider who your audience is and where your audience is and how they like to consume content, and importantly, how you like to show up, so that you can find organic and aligned ways to talk to the people who might actually hire you or pay you actual money. And this program is for musicians, just like you, who feel stuck or feel unable to move forward because of the judgment of others or of your own judgment of yourself. Just feels too daunting to overcome. Because I have lived all of these experiences. I am not a natural extrovert and I am not a born salesperson. These are skills that I have learned. And I've also learned that there's always another level. Like, this is true in music, for sure, but it's also true in the business of music. If you already have some visibility channels and you already have some success and you already have 7 orchestras, Matthew, that you're playing with, the next step for you might be dialing in exactly the content that your audience wants if you're doing visibility channels, or getting bolder about your asks to other people so that they engage. And if you're not there, if you're currently a social media lurker and not a poster at all, your challenge might be to start telling your story. Dare to start telling your story. If you have an immediate income need, your most important action might be to start some conversations in person or with your students to ask for referrals, or your colleagues or your friends about something that you are great at and can help them with. Because I have done all of those things and I can help you. I'm enrolling the group now, and if you think that you are ready for this, the button on the page is ready for you. And if you are not sure if this is for you or not, feel free to book a call with me. I've got a link at the bottom of that. The people who are already in my Oboe Flow program know exactly how to get in touch with me. Because I would love to hear about where you are and what you're working on. And I'll tell you in that call what I see as possible for you. This is a brand new program, and I have a structure for it, but there's not really a curriculum built or a set of identical steps that everyone is going to follow one by one by one. It's going to be a small group, and the content is going to be very responsive. So I'll be working directly with the people who are there to see what we can create. It's a pretty simple structure with 8 calls spread out over 3 months. We're going to do 4 content-based, curriculum-based workshop calls and 4 group coaching calls, where we can talk about your actual next steps. What do you actually personally need to do next? There'll be assignments. We'll have a little community. And additionally, there'll be 2 60-minute calls that you get with me over the course of the time to really dial in what your path is. So in other words, in this program, there are a ton of ways to get your needs met, and there's tons of individual attention and a community around you to cheer you on. And all of this I am announcing because it is so important to me that creative people and musicians are not only thriving in the world, but are seen to be thriving in the world. Because when it is clear that artists can succeed, and when it is clear that artists are accomplishing great things and are being paid for what they do, then it makes it more possible for everyone else. Like, if we can see it, we can do it. The next generation needs to see it. We need to see it. And the world wants to see you thriving, because it's a better place when more musicians and creatives are thriving.